Hi, I'm Crescendescent, and I'm going to be drawing randomized Pokemon fusions, some of which are a little, odd to say the least. First two randomly generated Pokemon are Poliwag and Beedrill, using a random Pokemon generator because I can think of no better way to do it. So for this fusion, I've kind of taken the base of Beedrill, and I've tried to make it a bit like rounder and a bit more swirly, like Poliwag is, which leaves the base mostly just looking like a generic insect shape. Because the problem is, Beedrill's whole thing is it's basically a pointy insect. And Poliwag's whole thing is basically it's very, very round. So trying to combine the two was a bit of a struggle. But I've ended up with this kind of swirly insect thing, which kind of looks like a flying ant a bit. So I'm going to go with that. Now, Poliwag is very, very cute, and it's cute because it has such a basic design. So trying to incorporate features from Poliwag is very difficult to do to combine it, and I've tried to make the wings look more like Poliwag's tail, and I've given it the spiral, and oh my word, the grief this spiral gave me. I could not make the lines look even. I did this about 15 times to try and get it decent shape. But anyway, I've also given it Poliwag's colour scheme, and I could have given it a Poliwag face as well, which would basically just then be insect Poliwag, and I think you'd lose a lot of the Beedrill. But also, I think if I gave this a Poliwag face, it would be quite frankly traumatic. I, I just don't think that would look particularly great. So anyway, I've kept Beedrill's eyes and tried to make it a similar shape to Beedrill. And I've kept the kind of like hand weapon type thing. I mean, obviously insects don't have hands, but I've kept like the weapon things, although I've made them look a bit more arched to fit with it more. And I was really deliberating on whether I should keep the stinger or not, and I ended up keeping the stinger. I'm glad I kept the stinger, and then obviously now I've started giving it the stripes. But I quite like this one. I still think it looks like a flying ant, but it's quite cool. Anyhow, the next Pokemon generously supplied by the random generator is Jigglypuff and Magneton. Now, for this one, I feel like I could have just done like 3 separate Jigglypuff in a Magneton arrangement, but that would be lazy and really weird. So that's more or less exactly what I did. I instantly paid the price for because of this. I genuinely can't explain what happened here, but it will forever haunt my nightmares. Anyhow, after that momentary catastrophe was quickly gotten rid of, I decided we are not giving Jigglypuff Magneton eyes. But then I decided we didn't have enough magnets in for Magneton, so Jigglypuffs now hold magnets, I guess. And I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do Jigglypuff's pink or Magneton's silver, so I've ended up doing a combination of the two. I've had a bit of pink, bit of silver, because I do not like decisions. Though I have decided to make the inside of the ears, if they are ears. I don't know if they're ears or little Magneton arms. But I made the inside of them pink and red for the magnets because Magneton. And so that they maybe stand out a little bit more, I've made the pink a little bit more of a muted kind of metallic-y pink. But honestly, that might have just partially been because I really like drawing metal. Shading metal's great. But anyway, I've decided to give Jigglypuff's eyes because I don't think the alternative is maybe the best idea. But I have kept the Magneton eyes for the little mini ones, although it does have the Jigglypuff highlights, which I just think looks better. I just prefer that. And I am quite glad that I went for the more metallic shading for the big Jigglypuff, because I think otherwise it would just look like a Jigglypuff with 2 little things growing out the side of its head. Whereas I think the metallic shading kind of almost like brings it all together a bit better. Or at least better than the magnets do anyway. I don't actually know what I was thinking with the magnets, but they work, I suppose. But anyway, that's my Jigglypuff Magneton fusion thing. And the next Pokemon from the generator is Squirtle and Dugtrio, which is quite a weird one to say the least. I kind of only really had a vague idea of where I was going with this when I was drawing it. So I just started with Diglett's mound of dirt and then started drawing a Squirtle shell, at which point it didn't seem too weird, it seemed fairly normal. I mean, as normal as a Squirtle shell and dirt gets, really. And then I started adding the Diglett heads, and sorry, the Dugtrio heads, and I just just really went wild with them Dugtrio heads. Because I never really expected Squirtle and Dugtrio to make any sense anyway. But I think this was just a whole different level of insane that I wasn't really prepared for. But I was just shading this, trying to salvage it as much as I can. So I've given the Dugtrio purple eyes because Squirtle has purple eyes, which, you know, I don't think it can make it any worse. But I have given it like all Squirtle's colours because I don't really want it to just literally be some Diglets poking out a shell. Because I think at that point it would be a funny concept as opposed to a fusion, which is, it's nice, but it's not what I'm trying to do. But I mean, I don't know what I'm trying to do anymore, but I am trying my best. I was trying to get the lines on the shell to be noticeable but not stick out too much. Because I'm not particularly fond of like putting outlines and that on drawings, but at the same time I don't want it to just be a flat, just a flat plain shell. But anyway, that's my drawing of this, I suppose. I think it was destined to be pretty mental from the start, but it's quite funny anyway. But please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video.